Welcome back.
Persona 3 used to have the most open-ended explanation as to which versions to play of any of the modern Persona games. Persona 3 Reload has reined things in for most players and recent fans of the series, but as you can tell by the video length, a lot was added and changed. I don't like making videos this long. My only rationale is if you're going to commit to a 90-hour long JRPG, a video of this length I guess isn't out of the question. By all means use chapters to skip non-commentary segments, and don't worry, 4 and 5 will not be this long. Today we'll discuss the original PS2 release from 2006, the FES upgrade version from the following year, the PSP version aka Portable, the Portable Remaster, and the Remake Persona 3 Reload. And then we'll get a short primer on modding potential between the games. Thank you to Atlus for providing me a review code of Persona 3 Reload on Steam, to my patrons for their continued support, and thank you to the Persona modding community for an immense amount of information as well as feedback on the last video and this one with direct feedback from Meowcat, and especially both Doors Cares, who reviewed every draft and frankly deserves a writing credit as a few things I'll say are one-to-one with his feedback and explanations. And special thanks again to Phoenix for some of the info that'll be shown in the video. So first we have the original Persona 3, where all there really is to talk about is the localization. The English class you take was revised, and where the third years are learning English and sprinkling it in on occasion in the Japanese version, in the North America version they're instead speaking French, and these instances of French are more prominent than the English usage was. Additionally, the MMO Social Link in Japanese is named Devil Busters and references Megami Tensei 2 on Famicom, where the English version references Persona 2 Innocent Sin. Next up, in the following year, we have Persona 3 FES, still for the PS2. In Japan, FES released as both a standalone game and as a cheaper append version. The only difference between the append and standalone versions is that the append version requires a vanilla version save file. If you don't have it, you'll be prompted to switch to the vanilla disc to make a save file and then switch back. And if you played the vanilla game, you could transfer your save to FES to save your social stats, completed social link items, known spell fusions, and compendium completion, but note that the compendium personas will be at their base levels with their base skills due to changes. The biggest addition to FES is the 30-hour long epilogue of The Answer, or episode Aigis in Japan. The Answer takes place after the main story and doesn't feature the life sim aspects. Instead, the bulk of that 30 hours is dungeon crawling and fusing personas due to the lack of compendium. We'll cover The Answer more thoroughly later this year. In terms of the base game, there's a few more scenes and events such as social links being seen on the first day, the cleanup of the school festival, the Easter egg surveillance recordings, social link dialogue on the last day, Aigis' social link, walks with friends with Koromaru or going to the movies, using game panic, and a hidden extra scene for Chidori. The school questions outside of Mr. Itogawa's were changed as well. FES features new personas, skills like Herculean Strike, Vicious Strike, Brave Blade, new requests such as taking Elizabeth on dates, new equipment, the Shirt of Chivalry and High Cut Armor now change appearances where before they just had unique dialogue, new costumes for Tartarus including swimsuits, maid outfits as well as summer and winter clothes, the weapon fusion mechanic, elemental weapons, and a hard mode difficulty. There's also a new opening, though the secondary opening was removed. FES tweaks and rebalances gameplay. There's differences in some persona stats, arcana types, skill sets, starting skills, and skill costs. Additionally, FES reduced the HP cost of physical skills across the board, though their crit rates were lowered too. Shock and Fear also now guarantee critical hits where before it was just a very high chance. To clear up some misconceptions about the differences between the original version and FES, some of which I mistakenly said in the prior video, Regenerate works the same between both versions, High Counter's chance is 20% in both versions, the protagonist could always equip other weapon types, social links were always boosted by having a persona of the same arcana, and the monad depths were unlocked the same way between both versions. In Persona 3, you and your party have a condition status. They can be great, good, tired, or sick. Good is the default. Great gives you higher accuracy and higher crit rates. Tired party members will miss more often, take more damage, have trouble getting up after being knocked down, and they'll leave Tartarus if you go back to the entrance for any reason. Sick party members can pass it on to teammates, are more susceptible to ailments, take longer to recover, and their stats, damage, and spell effects are reduced. In the original game, you and your party are immune to becoming tired or sick before a full moon. In Fez, this isn't the case, however, before a full moon, tired party members will not leave Tartarus early. Fez also now lets you see skill help when you fused a persona. In Fez, deadlines for Elizabeth were tweaked as were rewards, and social link point requirements were relaxed a little. Additionally, some social link parameters were changed, such as Tanaka's social link now takes place at night, which due to an oversight can be exploited to skip the final boss. At the shrine in Fez, the new fortune draw helps improve or recover social links, and the new Inari Sushi offers a variety of random effects for Tartarus that night. All shrine activities take up time now too, so no more free academic points. So while some bugs were added in Fez, like with Tanaka's social link, Vorpal Blade not being inheritable anymore, or the mutation version of Vorpal Blade and Weary Thrust being bugged, a fixed bug in Fez was that before there was a chance of split up party members not being able to find teleporters or stairs. Fez is also generally faster due to many small things that add up for how long these games are, like shorter time transitions. While every version of Persona 3 from vanilla to portable had consistent bugs like with boss AI, Fez overall remains a much more polished experience compared to vanilla. New music was introduced in Fez too. A few new tracks were also remixes of music in the series, such as Snow Queen and Maya's theme. Persona 3 Fez is available on the PSN store on PS3. This version had bugs, but they were patched out over time. Moving on from the PS2 though, our next version is Persona 3 Portable, released for the PSP. To start things off, to fit on the PSP and on a UMD disc, Persona 3 Portable drops all 3D exploration outside of Tartarus, and practically every 3D cutscene and conversation is now 2D. It also drops the answer epilogue as well as all anime cutscenes. Dialogue and action text were revised to accommodate the lack of visible animation to give you a full 2D visual novel presentation. Characters will call things out that they didn't before, and actions or details you'd be looking for are explained in text.
There's someone else here? There's someone else here? Anyways, let's hide.
The script did start as a copy-paste job though, so there are occasional inaccuracies and mistakes carried over from the PS2 versions, such as Herculean Strike being referred to as a slash. The prior anime cutscenes are also adapted like the 3D cutscenes are. As a result, the lack of 3D affects the pacing and impact of dialogue to varying degrees all throughout. It is subjective, though it's not necessarily negative every time either.
Seriously, don't say anything about last night, alright? What?
Moreover, not all of the information of a scene is conveyed to the player like before. For example, you don't know a character is in a scene until you see their portrait, and you'll never see a complete group shot of all your friends together unless it's a still image or sprites on the couch. On the other hand, there is an argument in favor of the faster pacing being appreciated given how long the game is already. There's a lot to talk about with Portable, but here are some examples of what I mean.
Sup, dude? How's it going? Me? I'm Junpei Iori. Nice to meet you. Sup, dude? How's it going? Me? I'm Junpei Iori. Nice to meet you.
That's true, but there's another reason. You two. Can you summon your persona without any difficulties like he can?
Yeah, of course I can.
I think so.
That's true, but there's another reason. You two. Can you summon your persona without any difficulties like he can?
Yeah, of course I can.
I think so.
Now, on the flip side, Portable adds a female protagonist route. This route features a wholly revised script with a few differing plot points as well as new scenes, most of which are instances where Kotane hangs out with the girls rather than the guys. This route also offers a new Orpheus design, different sports, different battle and seasonal music, 8 new social links that changed to they were 4, 6 social links with optional romance compared to Makoto's 5 social links with non-optional romance, an optional new Velvet Room attendant, and a cameo from a Persona 4 character. Even general dialogue options, and therefore the responses to them, differ. While Makoto and Kotane can be the same person who doesn't struggle with pulling the trigger and master express their feelings. They cope with their experiences and history in different ways and aren't simple gender swaps. Makoto and Kotane differ more than the gender options found in games like Pokemon, newer Fire Emblem games, and even Mass Effect. Now, when you start the game, you're told from the get-go that the female route was designed not only for female players, but also for those already familiar with Persona 3's story. It's up to you how you play and what you play first, and ultimately either route is a time investment, but yeah, Kotane's route resonates more if you've already played as Makoto. That's what's cool about Portable too, is even if you've played Fez or are doing New Game Plus, Portable still has something fresh to offer everybody. Regardless of route, there's also a cameo from a Vincent lookalike from Catherine. This is a cool Easter egg because it predates Catherine even being announced by a month in the US and 9 months in Japan. Portable also has its own new opening, replacing the one from Fez. But now on to gameplay. Portable adds more new personas, the dizzy status effect, follow-up attacks, more endgame content in the form of the Abyss of Time doors from the Answer, which lead to a new super boss, part-time work, missions where you rescue people from Tartarus, and new difficulty options. Beginner difficulty enemies deal much less damage, and you're given 30 plumes of dusk to revive the party when the protagonist dies. Maniac difficulty is the same as hard mode, except you can't carry over items into New Game Plus. Portable also introduced skill cards which teach a persona a move that it can't inherit. Many rewards throughout the game, like for exams or Elizabeth's requests, were changed to give you skill cards instead, and you can duplicate skill cards at the Inari Sushi. And of course, the largest addition is direct control of your party members. Keep in mind that Persona 3 wasn't balanced around this, so it does make the game easier. This should be thought of as a quality of life change, granted it's a really nice option to consider and a deal breaker for folks. The AI controls of the PS2 version get a bad rep because tactics aren't explained that well to the player, and you don't start with all your tactics options. And more importantly, analyzing is extremely vital to how party member AI works. For example, Mitsuru never uses Marin Karen if she isn't set to act freely and you've scanned the enemy. So if you engage with the mechanics, this meme will go over your head. Portable pulls its tactics from Persona 4, where many tactics options were removed or consolidated and watered down compared to how fleshed out they were before. Something misleading in the localization is that heal/support in Japanese is now actually called conserve HP, and this is why in Portable your teammates will never use support skills when set to it. This mistake has also been present in every Persona game since. This is why if you think to yourself you'll use tactics as if it were the original game, you really can't due to not being as functional as originally intended. And the buff abilities on your party members would simply be wasted slots. Arguably the second biggest gameplay change is that you and your party can't automatically become tired while in Tartarus anymore. They can only become tired or sick after leaving Tartarus, or if they're left on the ground after dying, making the mechanic much easier to manage, and you don't need to worry about anyone abandoning you. In Portable, AoE attacks only need to knock down one enemy to get a one more instead of every target. Knockdowns don't take an extra turn anymore since there's Dizzy now. You can resume Tartarus from your highest floor even if it's not a checkpoint floor. You can both heal and change party members' equipment and view their stats right from the menu, as well as buy and equip right away at any time, where before you had to walk up and talk to them to equip them, or have someone with healing skills heal. You don't get a bonus chance to study at night anymore. In battle, you can only see who goes next rather than the entire turn order. Consumables can be used repeatedly in the menu, and the square button is used for fast traveling anywhere in a location, as well as back to the map, where before, the best you could do was talk to this kid in class to get to the map. Social links in the prior versions could reverse or break from wrong dialogue choices, not hanging out with them for a while, or double booking a hangout. Breaking would happen if you fumbled a confrontation when caught cheating. Note that both breaks and reverses can be recovered. In Portable, Chihiro's social link is the only one that can be reversed, Nakahiko's is the only one that can break, and both are from poor dialogue choices. But the Hierophant and Hanged social links can also be impossible to progress if you don't rescue them from Tartarus in time. Invites at night were removed too, meaning double booking is now impossible, as you'll only get invitations on Sunday mornings when they happen. Jealousy isn't a mechanic in Portable either, despite the game saying so. The male protagonist's romances are baked into the social links, so you'll be in a relationship with everyone you max the social link with. In the prior versions, this meant that you'd have to manage all your romantic relationships as the game went on, as the time before a girl gets jealous drops each time you hang out with another. In Portable, this isn't necessary. Accident days were added, where floor effects occur more often. There were already floor effects in Persona 3, but new ones were added, such as the floor map reveal or decreased visibility, or some that used to be from Inari Sushi and Fez, such as increased experience. There's also days where it'll be cheaper to heal. Balance-wise, Portable tweaks a few more things from Fez. For example, because statuses can't degrade in Tartarus, Vorpal Blade is technically buffed. Some skills can't be inherited anymore, such as Alice's Die For Me. Additionally, some skills had altered SP costs, such as AoE buffs and debuffs, which was due to being upgraded from 1.25 multipliers to 1.33. Abilities like Fuka's Oracle or the skill Summer Dream have more benefits to them, and their bad effects were removed, despite the localization not being updated to accommodate their new and removed effects. So when it tells you that everyone's HP was reduced to 1, it's just straight lying. So then buffs only apply to the party, while debuffs and knockdowns only apply to enemies. Waiting in battle was replaced with defending, helping you protect from knockdown. Party members won't ask to retreat anymore. Fusion skills are now activated by items. Allies at a certain point will endure one fatal attack. The protagonist can only wield one-handed swords now, meaning less variety, and it's harder to catch gold hands. There's less unfair shuffle time patterns, new spinning ones, and double ups were removed. There's a new event that rewards you with a skill card based on Shinjiro's level. Valuables sell for more. Gold hand drops are guaranteed. You can check a specific persona skills now from their page in the menu instead of only from the skills menu. When you split up in Tartarus, party members that find money give it to you now instead of taking it. The camera in Tartarus is higher up and angled down, letting you peek around corners as well as over walls. You don't auto heal when you return to the entrance of Tartarus anymore, and you have to pay a bit to heal. Going back to your room doesn't fast forward time anymore, and shops were once again overhauled, and some now are open at night. The police station can be used to buy weapons, armors, and now accessories, in addition to being the only place you can sell at. B Blue V is now used to upgrade your status from tired to good or good to great, and the pharmacy is only used to buy consumables. Yawn Begons are also a new item sold at the school shop. Nothing regarding weapon fusion is impossible on Merciless difficulty, despite what I said before. However, what did actually change was that you can only have one type of each Nihil or Void weapon for weapon fusion now, and that includes the generic nameless weapons you make with fusing them, since you can still refuse them as if they were still Nihil or Void, but that still greatly limits of how many you can have per weapon type. You can also save at your desk in school and choose who to spend your time with at the end of the game in New Game Plus. Portable had some bug fixes, including some of the boss ones, but many bugs still remain. Additionally, Portable has a few typos and grammatical mistakes, wrong voice lines, wrong descriptions, and untranslated lines. The PS2 version ran at 480p 30, while Portable itself runs at 272p 30. Assets are lower resolution, and models, when you do see them, are lower poly and lack fingers. The school layout was also slightly tweaked to better accommodate the overhead angle for navigation. Battle UI also now sports the revolver motif. Animations also took a minor quality hit with some effects gone, and it looks to me like while keyframes are the same, they're now interpolated differently. Party members don't idly walk back and forth anymore either. Portable also adds 10 new music tracks, most of which are heard in the female route. The audio quality in general, though, is much lower compared to the PS2 version. Now, we're highlighting the audio quality of a PSP game so much since the remaster's music quality is the same as the PSP versions. So take a listen.
I've never felt like da-da-da-da-dum-dum. I've never felt like da-da-da-da-dum-dum.
Portable also uses new sound effects. Next up, before we finally get to Persona 3 Reload, we have Persona 3 Portable Remastered. Now for the first time, Persona 3 is available in French, Italian, German, Spanish, and simplified Chinese. Be careful with changing a language after starting though, as it'll revert the protagonist's name. This new version offers dual audio, the option to not keep your last used persona equipped, which is useful for keeping a passive skill persona, quick saves, a text log, and achievements and trophies. The tactics memory option was removed though. The only gameplay changes to really address are with the difficulty options. First off, not only can you now change the difficulty after starting the game, but you've got a handful of difficulty options to tweak. To this end, Plumes of Dusk were removed. Instead, you can toggle on reviving in battles like before, but with no limit now, which the game discourages, or instead you can also choose to resurrect from the prior floor. Some instances of incorrect voice lines or untranslated lines were fixed.
As soon as he wakes up, I'll tell him the truth. As soon as she wakes up, I'll tell her the truth.
Though many mistakes are still present. Additionally, many of those legacy bugs, mostly regarding bosses, still remain. Though like we said, these bugs are generally harmless to the player. Herculean Strike, Summer Dream, and Oracle text weren't fixed either. The screams of scared shadows are missing too, but I could believe that that was on purpose. Assets are upscaled utilizing a mix of original sources like character portraits, UI, and fonts, while AI upscaling was utilized for assets like backgrounds, despite these source assets not being terribly old. The AI upscaling results are pretty mixed. Some turned out pretty well, most simply got the job done just fine, though most also do have that look of being AI upscaled, and in a few select shots it does get the details wrong. While the PSP version ran at 272p 30, the remaster runs at 1080p 60 everywhere except Xbox Series X and PC, which can go up to 4K 120. There is no designated PS5 version or PS4 Pro, so the PlayStation experience is identical across the board. And frankly, the footage speaks for itself. The higher resolution isn't really a huge benefit. The remaster in general is essentially identical across all platforms anyway. Unless you're set to take advantage of that 120 FPS, then by all means. All things considered, this remaster is the sharpest version of Portable since the original resolution was so low. Understandably, the backgrounds are jarring compared to the clean art and UI though. And to set expectations for the PC port, you can't click options in the menu or like in combat, but your cursor does not replace the giant circle marker, so you'll be using your cursor to guide the big cursor. There is arbitrary resolution support, though it'll maintain the 16:9 aspect ratio. It also supports hot plugging controllers, and your button icon options are manually set in the options. For audio, the compressed PSP music was used rather than the PS2 versions, or even their official soundtrack counterparts. Moreover, there's a handful of some voice lines or sound effects that are compressed in quality even further from their PSP counterparts.
Here goes. Here goes.
And now, after all of that, we have Persona 3 Reload for the 8th gen of consoles. Persona 3 Reload is a hybrid of elements from FES and Portable, with a healthy chunk of new content, features, and mechanics. There's enough Portable in here though that will go in under the impression the game is building off of Portable, with obviously the restoration of the 3D world and what comes with that. The answer, or episode Aegis, will be DLC. This will be covered in a later video. Kotane is not present in the game, nor is she planned for DLC. Kotane's playthrough exists due to the visual novel nature of Portable, so alongside fully animating everything for her, we'd be looking at a DLC expansion that lasts as long as the base game and arguably wouldn't warrant the dev time and cost for half the price of the base game. And we'll talk modding options later. The localization was wholly revised. The script is generally significantly closer to the original Japanese text and intended meaning, alongside more accurate use of honorifics, and a few stores have more accurate names. The more accurate translation alongside story additions may also change how characters are interpreted.
Who needs your advice? So what if it's dangerous? We can't just stand here and let it get away!
You know, I really do want to do my best. His powers, our mission, I got a lot of good things going for me. I've been really waiting for something like this. I feel like my life's finally starting to go somewhere.
Many fan-loved elements were retained though, from Junpei to the French. However, with the more accurate localization comes some oddly confusing descriptions. More notable story changes in both Japanese and English are present. For example, Operation Babe Hunt ends on a conspiracy theorist, or the plot-relevant pills were turned into injections. More minor changes include Mitsuru's father no longer smokes around the kids. From the evening side of things, combat builds off of portable, though the fatigue system was removed. But if you visit the nurse after Tartarus, you can still get a free point of courage, like you could before visiting the nurse when tired or sick. Plumes of Dusks and Vision Quest boss rematches were removed. Direct control is also now default. The largest combat addition is Theurgy abilities. Theurgy is built differently per character, and these range from attacks that bypass resistances to full party charges and focuses on command. For example, Mitsuru builds Theurgy efficiently through inflicting ailments and starting her turn while enemies have at least one debuff active, and Akihiko through starting his turn with a Kaja buff active as well as charge or concentrate. Some prior mechanics were also adapted into being Theurgy abilities, including Fuka's Oracle, Aegis or Guillermo tactic, which doesn't attack twice in one turn anymore, and Makoto's fusion spells act as all of his abilities, though several were cut and some saw adjustments, such as Cadenza, which used to only raise evasion, but now it raises both accuracy and evasion. Fuka's Oracle is so powerful now that if you manage things correctly and have a little bit of luck, you'll have Fuka not just be a reliable healer, but a reliable source of free SP. Fuka also now has her own SP that she can spend to analyze after the first turn rather than requesting it, which also now shows what items an enemy drops. She can also boost defense and accuracy and evasion for your next battle, prevent detection, inflict distress on a whole floor, escape to the entrance, and reveal the current floor. Aside from Theurgy, the second largest combat addition was shifting, letting you baton pass to a teammate when you get a one more, though there's no innate buffs when doing so like in Persona 5, though there are abilities you can get to grant buffs when you use it. Characters can also get passives over time. For example, Kaja buffs on Akihiko can be buffed by a 1.3 multiplier. While we won't get into where Akihiko belongs on the tier list now, just be aware that the balance of your party members has changed radically. Before, Akihiko had physical damage on top of good buffs, but now, since in Reload you can choose which skills are replaced when your party members level up, he can get both Elect Boost and Elect Amp together, and at least still can lower enemy attack, and can now buff accuracy and evasion. And again, this isn't to say that he's better, just rebalanced. Weapon damage is also halved now like in Persona 4 and 5. Survey shows who goes next like Portable instead of the full turn order like Fez, but at least you can check everyone's current buffs outside of crit and view their personas. Shuffle time was revamped too. You just outright pick the card you want and know what you're picking now. Included in Shuffle time now are Major Arcana cards that have night-long and daily life effects. For example, with the right Major Arcanas, you'll get to pick up to 3 cards every Shuffle time, or the Temperance Major Arcana increases social skill points earned from most activities by 1, despite the unchanged notes, barring the Shrine Blessing, Mr. Ono quest, and points earned in the classroom. Getting enough Major Arcana cards activates Arcana Burst, which upgrades the tier of generic cards. Picking a persona you already have now gives every persona you have on hand with that Arcana extra experience. There's also now Jack, Queen, and King tiers to the cards, though King only shows up on the last day. Enemies and bosses across the board had their weaknesses and resistances altered. Bosses were rebalanced and tweaked. Some examples include the Priestess countdown starts and ends during the boss fight itself, with more time, but it speeds up as the fight goes on. Justice and Chariot use Restore instead of Samarakarm, as well as require being hit by Theurgy to split up. And Hanged Man doesn't summon Devious Mayas anymore. The final boss's moveset was also wholly revised, and specific bosses in general can't be instantly killed due to scripted events at certain HP points, which is only really worth bringing up because of how high the damage ceiling is now. Ailments were tweaked as well. Freeze grants you crit now, as well as enables piercing physical resistance, and Dizzy isn't guaranteed anymore. Regarding teammate AI tactics, not only do they function as they do in Persona 4 onward, they aren't and capable of shifting, which is an odd choice considering the AI in Persona 5 was perfectly capable of baton passing. Difficulty options differ from prior versions. Damage dealt by the player is now affected by it, and Merciless multiplies damage from hitting weaknesses and criticals by about 1.4, though because player damage is being reduced, this is more relevant to enemy damage. Persona memory was also retained from the portable remaster, and tactics memory was brought back. In terms of quality of life changes, items relevant to battle are moved to the top of the item list for you. There's an action assist that gives you a recommended action in battle. Missing melee attacks doesn't have a chance to down you anymore. You can fast travel in both school and Tartarus when you found the exit to the floor. Buffs are now extendable. The cursor indicates whether an attack will be effective or ineffective. Incapacitated party members don't lose their turn in the turn order anymore. Golden hands are significantly easier to catch, don't disappear instantly when cornered, and now give XP. The game is a lot smarter about not letting you waste a support ability if it would have no effect. Elizabeth will heal you freely on the last day. Buffs are more potent, as we'll see by this table, and charge and focus now multiply by 2.3, where before it was 1.9. However, using your charge or focus on a theurgy skill will only multiply it by 2. Personas were revised in just about every area, with the inclusion of light and dark damage dealing magic, persona fusions, stats, skills, resistances, weaknesses, revised hard items, and abilities were rebalanced and tweaked. There's new personas added such as Silky, though there were some removed like Nandi, Ares, Taraka, and Ghoul. Additionally, fusions with more than 2 personas were consolidated under special fusions. Quality of life changes regarding personas include finally choosing which skills are inherited when fusing, you can reverse fuse personas, and the compendium is available right away. However, the reverse compendium fusion search function from SMT5 and Soul Hackers 2 was not brought in. Elizabeth's requests were completely revamped with new quests and rewards spread out among them. You can also take more than 3 requests at a time now, and if you've already completed one, you can turn it in immediately. Tartarus is spiced up with different events that can occur like blackout floors, huge rare treasure hands, and shadows with ailments. The blocks have different amounts of floors now too. Instead of manually splitting the party up, there's now a chance that one party member will offer to explore the rest of the current floor and some of the next floor after a battle and proceed to collect treasures and will meet you up on the next floor. This is a balanced compromise compared to full floor reveals of Mementos in Persona 5 and the exploit in prior versions of 3 where you could simply stand in a corner so that enemies wouldn't spawn to attack your scouting teammates. The prefabs between different levels of Tartarus now differ much more too. With the new designs of each floors, the exit stairs are significantly easier to see from long distances away. We've also got modern amenities such as dashing and auto recovery shortcuts. Additionally, the monad depths were retooled. Doors with strong enemies behind them now randomly appear, and clearing that fight gives you loot and reveals the current floor as well as the next one. Then, the monad passages are on set floors with more battles to them and fixed rewards. And some of the boss battles in these passages call back to floor bosses from the prior versions. There's also the new optional ambush mechanic where you dash and get the advantage in a battle hitting an enemy from any direction. Ambush also increases theurgy and has a chance to distress. When you game over, depending on how you died, you'll get the options to retry the battle, lower the difficulty, or start from the Tartarus entrance of that day. That last one isn't available if you're on Merciless difficulty though. The biggest addition to Tartarus are Twilight Fragments. You get these from finding them in the world, in Tartarus, and social link progress. They're spent on new types of chests and used at the grandfather clock for an HP and SP refill. New to Tartarus is the Great Clock Door, which is a mechanic that lets you catch up inactive party members' levels after their next battle, and is spawned from spending Twilight Fragments on chests. Outfits are now separate from armor, floors now stay until the end of the night, the map can be expanded and show which types of enemies and loot are present, party members will ask if they can equip whatever loot you just got, and the Reaper now follows you up floors. Removed from the daily life are the optional clubs so that the track and art social links could be fleshed out, but this means we lost kendo, swimming, photography, and music clubs. Portable's cameos aren't present either. During lunch, nobody walks up to you anymore. Instead though, you get emails from people, so you have a list of your social options for the day right there. A rewind feature was added that essentially autosaves at the last 5 free times you had, letting you go back to them. And in most cases, this covers the last 2.5 days. You can save freely anywhere outside of Tartarus and Full Moon dungeons as well, and some Full full moon operations have more checkpoints in them anyway. Class questions were changed except for Itogawa's, so watch those guides, as well as what's available through Tanaka's commodities, which you now pick up when returning to the dorm rather than your room at the end of the day. Bivlu-V is now used to remember forgotten skills for a persona. Locations let you select what you do in them before you enter, so you'll know what stat boost you're getting before committing. Weapon fusing is no longer done with weapons and personas, but instead is done with heart items you get from personas, as well as materials picked up from Tartarus. We'll see some of Portable's rewritten dialogue or scenes, such as going to the festival with Mitsuru and Aigis, though you can still go alone like in Fez. Social links can only be reversed in Reload from poor dialogue choices, so that means both Yukari and Chihiro's. Some social links do still wander into Tartarus though, and can be permanently lost still. Additionally, romances are now optional. Some of the new activities include a lobby computer and gardening. You pick up seeds at the flower shop and your veggies work as consumables, and you get computer software from the new usable third floor of the strip mall, letting you do things like boost various stats, as well as from the Club Escapade's Darknet dealer, who lets you do things like unlock new veggies to grow, unlock and improve that optional ambush mechanic, and in November you can improve any social link with software. Club Escapade also now has a high-end accessory merchant for some accessories that'll do things like prevent all ailments, raise XP, prevent mortal blows, and he also sells crafting materials. There's also a fortune teller who will grant bonuses when you go into Tartarus that night, like increased chance of seeing rare or strong enemies, prevent the Reaper, increased ailment rates, or increased theurgy charge rates. At night, not only is everything in Polonium Mall now open, but everything in the strip mall is open too, besides the bookstore and sweet store. Many more events and interactions are present in Reload, and as you would expect, the added events and interactions with characters, including male party members as well as Strega, both benefit combat and provide better explored motivations, nuance, and exposition on characters, as well as foreshadowing. The biggest of daily life additions are link episodes for the male party members who don't have social links. Link episodes are missable events to hang out with the guys. Link episodes give you stats for you, stats for their personas, and end on key items required to fuse certain personas. You can also now hang out with your party in the dorm, where you can cook together, read together, watch movies, or tend to the garden with them. These are required to obtain and upgrade passives for your team. Makoto gets one as well, and its efficacy is increased by your compendium completion. We've now got network features that show what other people have done on that day, as well as class answers. Sunday activities that don't require leaving the dorm no longer take up the entire day as well. There's a text log that lets you replay voices. You can check requests from the menu now. Skill card duplication is instant instead of a 5-day wait. Valuables meant to sell are put front and center when you go to sell. Dialogue icons are above people's heads now to show when they have something new to say. Icons on the map show which social links or other events are available, and going into the dorm doesn't automatically skip time on days off of school. Bathrooms also now just provide non-social link social content ideas, as they could for Kotane and Portable. The camera works as you would expect, with the D-pad letting you move it in or out a little, though some places maintain the fixed camera angle, albeit it will dynamically follow you. Environments were recreated pretty faithfully to Fez when you look at them closely. This goes from restaurants you can visit on your own or in social links, to your teammates' rooms that you see on rare occasions. An overwhelming majority of Reload's assets, from big to small, are wholly made from scratch, though with a keen eye we can spot very few clever and harmless examples of reused Fez assets. The game uses Unreal Engine 4 and combines modern real-time lighting with texture-based shadows and lighting. The color grading done for some areas were deliberately changed, and a standout location is, of course, the dorm now that it's brighter. While the original's low lighting did feel a certain type of cozy, again it was done deliberately. The UI is now modernized and given a ton of flair based around the themes of water and endless floating. It's incredibly snappy too, and what you love to see in a game where you spend so much time in menuing, you don't have to wait for menu animations to finish, so if you memorize things, you'll navigate menus and battles satisfyingly fast. We've also got many new elements to the UI, such as new cut-ins and all-out attack animations, as well as unique moments when characters use their personas for the first time in battle.
You'll fall by my hand.
That was too easy.
Character artwork has been redone, new main cease outfits get introduced, and there's different lighting depending on whether you're in the dark hour. Dialogue portraits also now have lip sync. While character animations saw a pretty nice upgrade across the board, not all unique character animations from Fez were recreated for Reload either. Some prior anime cutscenes are now done in engine or pre-rendered, such as the Awakening scene, but there are still a number of anime cutscenes featured. The PS4 and Xbox One S versions are 1080p 30, with dropped frames depending on what's going on between battles or heavily populated areas, and more so on Xbox, as we'll see here. PS4 Pro and Xbox One X are 620p 30, and then the Series S is 1080p 60, and none of those versions have ray trace reflections. So the PS5 and Xbox Series X are 2160p 60 with extremely rare dips. Load times are faster too, but they aren't notably bad on last-gen hardware anyway. For the PC version, there's no arbitrary resolution support, and modding reveals how much of all the transitions and UI effects actually depend on 16:9. The frame rate cap goes up to 120, though some menu animations do not go that high because they are animated at much lower frame rates. There's also shader compilation lag, and while it is minimal, it can be noticeable. The game utilizes ray tracing if you have applicable hardware, otherwise it'll use screen space reflections. However, if you have the hardware for ray tracing but want screen space reflections anyway, you can't set that in-game. And this will hopefully be patched, but a few graphics cards such as the GTX 1080 try to use ray tracing anyway, which just breaks and takes the frame rate. The soundtrack has been wholly rearranged with a new female vocalist and features some new tracks for things such as new player advantage battle music or exploring at night. There's also instances of new parts of music such as the spring afternoon theme.
Destruction. The truth, there ain't no truth. You're the only one world, one love. But the battle goes on, shadows on mass destruction.
Music in Tartarus can still be selected, it's just in the in-game options now, along with a random select. Music from the previous Persona games are offered as DLC, though there's no original Persona 3 music options, nor the Fez remixes. The English voice cast was recast outside of Elizabeth, while most of the original voice cast is still featured in minor roles. The quality difference in voice acting and direction are consistently clear throughout the game.
Is it okay for him to be here?
I guess we'll see.
Is it okay for him to be here?
I guess we'll see.
This isn't a game, Akihiko.
This isn't a game, Akihiko.
Of course not. We already know it's not a ghost. And besides, I'm not that afraid of... Ah! My cell phone? Why now? Oh, figures. It's spam.
Of course I don't. We already know it's not a ghost. And besides, I'm not that afraid of... My phone! Why now? And of course, it's just spam.
The Japanese main cast reprised their roles in re-recorded audio, but social link characters were recast in addition to, of course, Igor.
So where's the bulletin board with all the class assignments?
It's literally right there, Cause. You're in class F. I'm in a different homeroom, so I can't keep an eye on you all the time. You got that?
Oh la la, how wonderful! I wish to set my soul on fire and learn the ways of the great samurai also.
私の名はイゴール。お初にお目にかかります。私の名はイゴール。お初にお目にかかります。
Social links are now fully voiced, which, in addition to minor revising, helps give them stronger presence and makes them more memorable. Some Japanese voice actors introduced in the Persona 3 movie also reprise their roles, from social links to Koromaru. Now let's talk modding quickly, as it will be inevitable in the comments, and many more of the minor issues we pointed out throughout this video of each version likely have some mod or patch to fix it. The modding potential is rich in options even outside of what I pointed out here. Again, this is probably something we'll only do for Persona 3. For modding Fez, here's a quick guide to help with a collection of mod recommendations from the HD project to options for undubbing, with any other mods from Game Banana being compatible as well, and this of course includes direct party control. Both Fez and Portable on PSP use the Amulus mod manager, while Portable on PC and Reload use the Reloaded 2 mod manager. The Amulus mod manager lets you browse Game Banana mods and get you going from there to find what you're looking for. For Portable, there are numerous fixes, tweaks, and upgrades available. For Portable Remaster, there's plenty of options as well, but you can start with the Quality of Life collection to fix sound effects, spruce up the localization, and get better descriptions. You've also got manual skill inheritance. For Reload, of course, the most ambitious project in the works right now is overhauling the entire game for Kotane as the protagonist. The project scale is massive, from models to animations to UI to rewritten dialogue. This very well could be years off, so in the meantime, there are localization mods to correct some of the more confusing wording and even AI tactics fixes. The most ambitious mod project available right now is Master Quest. This is a challenge mode for folks familiar with how Reload works mechanically, especially if Merciless didn't feel satisfying. Reload is balanced in a way that heavily favors a player's power fantasy, and while the game is rich in mechanics, Master Quest makes deeper utilization of said mechanics. So, whether you're someone gravitating towards Reload after Persona 5 or as your first Persona game with its accessibility, expanded mechanics, and character exposition, someone ready for how the mechanics of Fez work that gives your party members more agency, or are interested in the alternative experience of Kotane and Portable, hopefully you've identified a version that appeals to you the most, and maybe even set on which one you'd play afterwards. Or maybe you'll just watch the movies. So with that said, next up will be Persona 4 and 5, so stay tuned for those. With this behemoth of a project finally out, I'm hopeful to get some small content out, so we'll see where that goes. Another thank you to my patrons for their continued support, and thank you for watching.